Every Christmas movie promises magic, but the making of Red One delivered a $250 million nightmare. While the box office called it a flop, the real story is how Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's own rules, his lateness, his demands, his brand obsession, systematically destroyed a guaranteed holiday hit from the inside out. This is the forensic breakdown of the 5 catastrophic mistakes that turned a Christmas classic into a case study of a superstar's toxic control, proving that even Santa isn't safe from The Rock's ego. Let's dive in. 1. The on-set anarchy that blew the budget. The most direct, measurable reason for Red One's failure is a number: $250 million. For a non-superhero original holiday film, this figure isn't just high, it's financially suicidal. It created a break-even point so astronomically high that the film was doomed from its first day of release. This wasn't the cost of epic visual effects or exotic locations. It was the catastrophic price tag of Dwayne Johnson's reported on-set conduct, which systematically transformed a production schedule into a money-incinerating vortex of delays and overtime. Multiple reports from the set, including from reputable industry trades, described a pattern of behavior that would sink any production. Johnson was allegedly chronically egregiously late, not by minutes, but by hours. Crews of hundreds on multi-million-dollar daily rates were left waiting, clock running, for the star to arrive. This wasn't a one-time occurrence, it was described as a consistent habit. Furthermore, sources described other unprofessional actions that halted production and shattered morale, from refusing to follow basic on-set protocols to creating an atmosphere of tense, walking on eggshells deference. The financial mechanics of this are simple and devastating. A film set is the most expensive clock in the world. When the lead actor fails to appear, every single union crew member, from electricians to camera operators to makeup artists, goes into mandatory time-and-a-half overtime. These costs compound exponentially with each delayed day. What was planned as a tight 90-day shoot reportedly stretched into a grueling, costly marathon. The budget didn't simply overrun, it exploded, with a massive portion of that $250 million going not to what's on screen, but literally to paying people to wait for Dwayne Johnson. This was not a creative risk or an ambitious production choice. This was pure, avoidable waste, a textbook example of how a star's personal unprofessionalism can become a production's single largest line item, guaranteeing its commercial failure before a single frame was seen by the public. 2. The franchise starter vanity play. Dwayne Johnson doesn't just make movies, he launches universes. This is the cardinal rule of his brand playbook, and with Red One, he made the fatal error of applying it to a Christmas movie. The mistake wasn't ambition, it was a profound misdiagnosis of what audiences want from a holiday film. Instead of crafting a heartfelt, self-contained story about saving Santa, Johnson and his $7 Productions reportedly pushed for a bloated, mythology-heavy franchise starter designed to spawn sequels, spin-offs, and a permanent place on the holiday shelf next to Elf. The result was a film that forgot to be charming in its desperate quest to be consequential. The symptoms of this vanity are all over the film's confused DNA. The plot ballooned from a simple, festive rescue mission into a globe-trotting adventure involving a secret ancient order of North Pole protectors, a MacGuffin hunt for a magical artifact, and enough lore to drown out any cozy Christmas spirit. This wasn't storytelling in service of emotion, it was world-building in service of a business plan. The focus shifted from creating memorable holiday moments to planting narrative seeds for Red 2 and Red 3, making the core story feel overstuffed, convoluted, and, ironically, less special. The heart of a great Christmas film, simplicity, warmth, emotional clarity, was sacrificed on the altar of cinematic universe ambition. This approach created a fundamental disconnect with the audience. Families going to a Christmas movie seek comfort, tradition, and emotional payoff within 2 hours, not homework for future installments. By prioritizing franchise architecture over festive feeling, Red One delivered a product that felt corporate and calculated, lacking the genuine magic that defines holiday classics. It tried to be the first chapter of a saga when all anyone wanted was a complete, satisfying tale. Enforcing the Rock model of endless expansion onto a genre built on self-contained joy, Johnson guaranteed the film would satisfy neither his action fans craving spectacle nor families seeking heartfelt holiday cheer. He built a multiplex where a fireplace was needed. 3. The toxic set culture and crew backlash. The financial cost of Red 1 is quantifiable. The human cost, however, was paid in morale, reputation, and the intangible energy that separates a vibrant film from a lifeless one. Beyond the headlines about lateness and budget, a more damning narrative emerged from the set, one of a toxic, demoralized work environment directly fostered by Dwayne Johnson's reported behavior. This wasn't just about wasting money, it was about wasting the goodwill and creative spirit of the hundreds of professionals tasked with building this Christmas fantasy. A film crew is an organism, and Johnson poisoned it, ensuring the final product would be stillborn. Leaked reports and anonymous crew testimonials painted a picture of a deeply frustrating and unprofessional atmosphere. Beyond the hours of idle waiting, sources described a culture of walking on eggshells, where Johnson's demands and demeanor created a climate of tension rather than collaboration. The star's reported habits, including the bizarre and disrespectful allegation of urinating in water bottles on set to avoid trips to his trailer, became emblematic of a profound disregard for the working environment of others. This isn't a minor gripe, it's a symbol of a star who viewed the set as his personal domain, with the crew as servile background actors in the ongoing production of The Rock. This toxicity has a direct creative impact. A resentful, exhausted crew does not do their best work. The magic-making department, the set designers, the costumers, the lighting technicians, operates on passion and pride. When that is stripped away by disrespect and chaos, the work suffers. The film loses its sparkle, its attention to detail, its joy. The resulting product, Red 1, was criticized by critics as looking surprisingly cheap and generic for its budget, a direct reflection of a disengaged crew going through the motions. Furthermore, the backlash doesn't end with the film's release. Hollywood is a small town that runs on relationships and reputation. The widespread crew dissatisfaction from Red 1 has severely damaged Johnson's standing as a professional, making top-tier below-the-line talent think twice before signing up for a $7 production, which in turn jeopardizes the quality of all his future projects. 4. The miscalculated release and brand fatigue. By the time Red 1 was ready for release, the die was already cast. The final critical mistake was the strategic failure to recognize the product they had and the market receiving it. Amazon MGM, in conjunction with Johnson's team, made a catastrophic bet that the combined star power of Johnson and Chris Evans could muscle a bloated, troubled, and tonally confused $250 million film to success through sheer force of will and a wide release. This miscalculation ignored two fatal realities: the film's inherent lack of broad appeal and the growing public fatigue with the very rock brand that was supposed to be its main attraction. The release strategy was a mismatch of epic proportions. Red 1 was dumped into over 3,000 theaters, a rollout reserved for 4-quadrant blockbusters with proven mass audience hunger. But this was not Avatar or a Marvel movie. It was a weird, expensive Christmas action comedy saddled with terrible buzz. The wide release guaranteed one thing: spectacularly empty theaters. It lacked the must-see viral quality to drive opening weekend numbers, and the toxic behind-the-scenes press had already poisoned the well with cinephiles. It was a product that needed careful platforming or a streaming-first approach, not a brutal, naked exposure to the open market. This failure was compounded by the invisible anchor of brand fatigue. Johnson's persona, the invincible, quippy, franchise-launching hero, is no longer a novelty, it's a predictable algorithm. Audiences, now hyper-aware of his on-set reputation and creative control issues, viewed Red 1 not as a festive event, but as the next problematic output from the rock machine. The marketing, which leaned heavily on Johnson's smirk and Evans' charm, couldn't overcome the pre-existing narrative that this was a troubled production. The public's appetite for his specific formula has limits, and Red 1, following the dramatic misfire of the Smashing Machine and the ego-driven collapse of Black Adam, crashed directly into that wall. The release plan assumed his brand was an unstoppable draw. The box office proved it was a depreciating asset, unable to salvage a project this broken. 5. The creative clash and director exodus. A holiday film, especially one billed as a fun, family-friendly action-adventure, sells a specific feeling: joy, spectacle, and effortless fun. Its marketing is designed to manufacture allure and anticipation. The negative pre-release buzz created a powerful counter-narrative that no marketing campaign could fully erase. Instead of questions like, what incredible adventure awaits, the discourse among engaged film fans and industry circles became, will this movie ever make its money back with that budget? Does this mean Johnson is difficult to work with? Is the final product going to be a messy patchwork? This buzz created a perception of compromised quality. Audiences, whether consciously or subconsciously, often equate a smooth production with a good film and a chaotic one with a bad one. The pre-sold story of Red 1 was one of dysfunction, which made the subsequent official trailers, featuring slick effects and quippy humor, feel potentially deceptive, like a facade over a troubled core. This preset narrative also primed the critical reception. Reviewers, many of whom read the trades, would enter screenings looking for evidence of the reported chaos. Does the film feel disjointed? Are there pacing issues suggestive of editorial problems? Is Johnson's performance phoned in? The negative buzz created a lens of skepticism through which the film would be judged, making it harder for its genuine merits to shine through unbiasedly. Furthermore, it directly attacked the core asset of the film, the bankability of Dwayne Johnson. Johnson's empire is built on a unique blend of muscular action and charismatic, reliable wholesomeness. The allegations of on-set behavior struck at the reliability pillar. If the industry narrative becomes that insuring or financing a Johnson film carries excessive risk due to scheduling and budget overruns, his sure thing status diminishes. For the public, it introduces an unwelcome note of real-world cynicism into the fantasy of his on-screen persona. The box office is a measure of audience desire. Marketing builds desire. Negative pre-release buzz erodes it. For Red 1, the months of reports about turmoil, budget bloat, and star-related delays acted as a constant, low-grade box office tax. It forced the marketing campaign to work doubly hard not just to sell the movie's premise, but to overcome a pre-existing bad reputation. Conclusion: the Unwrapped disaster. Red 1 stands not as a mere box office flop, but as the definitive autopsy of Dwayne Johnson's star power. It is the $250 million receipt for every unchecked habit, every brand-first creative decision, and every arrogant assumption that his presence alone could override fundamental laws of filmmaking and finance. The film's failure is not a mystery. It is the logical, predicted outcome of the 5 fatal mistakes Johnson and his team engineered from pre-production to release. Where there should have been holiday magic, there was only the cold, hard reality of a broken system. Each mistake interlocked to form a perfect trap. The on-set Anarchy guaranteed a budget so bloated that success was mathematically impossible. The franchise starter Vanity stripped the story of heart, leaving a hollow corporate blueprint. The creative clash that drove out the director ensured the film would be a tonally jarring patchwork. The toxic set culture poisoned the well, draining the project of the goodwill and artistry needed to bring it to life. Finally, the miscalculated release into a climate of growing brand fatigue ensured its corpse would be displayed prominently in empty multiplexes worldwide. This wasn't bad luck, it was a systematic, self-inflicted collapse. The ultimate lesson of Red 1 is stark. The rock formula has a breaking point, and it is measured in quarter billions. The film proves that his brand is not a shield against consequence. It is, in fact, the very liability that creates the consequence when paired with unprofessionalism, creative overreach, and a disregard for collaboration. Red 1 is the unwrapped disaster that finally showed the world what happens behind the curated Instagram posts and press junket smiles. It revealed that the industry's most highly paid star can also be its most costly risk, a leading man whose greatest strength, his monolithic persona, has become his most spectacular weakness. The sleigh has crashed, and the myth of his infallibility lies broken in the wreckage.